backline diving tank like Diana.
Yeah, it's true. And speaking of backline diving tanks, Aurelia is going to be the first ban as we hop into Champion Select, and that's definitely Amicalus. He is so good on that champion, despite the fact that they haven't picked up a victory.
It's a masterful segue there, Atlas.
Thank you very much.
These are the two champions I want to see banned away. Ban away the Aurelia, ban away the Diana, because away from those champions, Carlos's God definitely been hit or miss.
Yeah.
If he's back on the Rise or other champions like that he really tried to maybe overreach his champion pool for, and that didn't pay off, he doesn't necessarily look all that good. And you can say that a lot about 4Not, to be honest, though. If you see Moya playing the AP Nidalee in the mid lane, looks wonderful. It's actually pressuring top OPL mid laners out of lane. But on other champions, that's where they start to fall through. That's where the seams start to come away for 4Not. So get them out of their comfort, even though some of those comfort champions a little bit different.
Yeah, well, it's true. Speaking of comfort champions, though, Papa Smithy, we've got the Swain ban coming immediately. Faced on Cheese, and it has actually gotten through the ban phase. Cheese doesn't like playing that champion into any matchup, but 4Not sort of not wanting to have to deal with it at all, and I wonder whether that has something to do with their game plan. Lissandra also going to be taken off the board here as we wait to see what 4Not are going to answer with.
Yeah, it's Lissandra ban, just a standard flexible champion being banned. It's the Diana ban that kind of I'm most curious about. Will they leave it open? Again, we've seen kind of the potential of Diana, especially on play at IEM, where Gia from World Elite was doing wonderful things with that champion. Mid lane, top lane, some flexibility there. Some people like to run in the jungle, maybe more of a solo queue pick. Don't really have a lot of CC till you get the Luna Rush at level 6, but certainly jungle's fast. Hell, even in a jungle follow, you can really do the jungle fast. So Diana's so flexible, transitions into a tank despite the fact that she builds a lot of AP. I think just given how much utility she has, it's a smart ban against 4Not.
And speaking of smart bans, Nidalee is going to be removed here as well, because Moya, I mean, you got to take away the comfort champions from the victories from 4Not, and there's only one.
Yep.
So make sure you just identify what went right for them in that game, and you have to say it was a lot to do with Moya's Nidalee there in the mid lane. It was fantastic.
And I guess, you know, if they do leave the Diana open, we might get an answer about what was the centerpiece of that 4Not winning comp. They've already banned out the Aurelia, which has been a comfort pick for a long time. The Nidalee applied a lot of pressure from the mid lane, which is not something you can say about Moya's other champion pool, Atlas. Remember, he's used to playing the Orianna, the definition of a champion that needs to scale up, that's passive in the mid lane and passive in the mid game even. So get them, if you can get Moya away from a champion that he's confident on, they could be aggressive on to one of these more wave clearing champions, maybe you've already started to shut down one of the main win conditions for 4Not.
Well, it's true. I want to see him playing something like Lux, you know, still that sort of long-range skill shot, but maybe a little bit more safe with a little bit more AoE wave clear from distance. But Xerath is also an option that he could go for here as well as Ryu, taking his time to pick up the first champion here for Immunity. And one thing that does stick out like a bit of a sore thumb is the fact that Lulu has not been taken away, and Sejuani, we are on 5.5, ladies and gentlemen, so the tank junglers, they are most definitely back. And Sejuani is pretty much the epitome of that.
I feel like we've undersold the viewers not mentioning earlier that's 5.5 because, of course, who is a bigger Sejuani player than Naya? Naya loves that piggy in the jungle, but it's taken away from here. The clear with the Cinderhulk item is so fast, and she still scales so well with health. The 20% bonus, 25% bonus health really scales well with her. Another champion who likes to power clear is Naya's Amumu. I don't think we've seen the Amumu this season. We saw it in the OCS.
Yeah, saw it in the OCS. Not
The dream of the Amumu coming through could be a reality.
I'm just really hope he's hovering it. He's hovering it. But as far as sort of this jungle matchup is concerned, can Amumu be capitalized on by this Sejuani, or is she just not quite at high damage enough? As Carlos's God is looking at a Cho'Gath, and I'm pretty sure there's been a few more champions patched into the game, guys. You don't need to go full season 1 on us, 4Not.
No, but they're considering it. Last second.
Still back to a champion that's pretty OG, but it is going to be Zeldo on that Janna for the 5th time here in the OPL, so definitely comfortable, has picked up their first victory on that champion, and getting a Sejuani out of your team is fairly important.
So Amumu's locked in, and you asked the question, can Sejuani pressure out Amumu in the jungle? Definitely one of the questions we've had about Sejuani is, can she herself be pressure out of the jungle? So both these champions want to farm up. Both these champions are level 6 focused. I feel like Sejuani, she can battle a little bit better now that she's kind of been tweaked. Her W especially, now that you can max it and the jungle does a lot of clear, but also does a lot of damage in skirmishes. Amumu usually played pretty passively, so I imagine they're going to have a pretty similar game style in the early levels, and then around level 6, the crowd control coming out of the jungle is going to be immense.
And speaking of crowd control and jungles, Maokai's been locked in here for Ryu in the top lane, and He's going to have his Twisted Advance, Arcane Smash. They're going to have so much AoE CC coming through from this Sejuani as well. Their front line is already looking disgusting. Plus, that Monsoon not going to be getting rid of any piggies anymore because that Black Shield already there coming through from Morgana, which we know flex pick could be going anywhere. I mean, that could be a mid lane Sejuani, jungle Maokai, and top lane Morgana.
It's always interesting to see drafts develop like this. The Janna pick up very smart. You see already Sejuani, you're like, okay, I don't want the Kennen to be locked in. I don't want them to stack AoE CC. I'll go for the Janna for disengage. Then the Morgana answer to all the CC coming through. And I see you kind of audibly gasp at this.
Yeah.
They take the hyper carry. I imagine they didn't want to see a Kalista Morgana duo lane, so perhaps they thought they needed to take that away. But the Cassiopeia is the blind pick mid.
And that is coupled with an Amumu as well. I just sort of had a vision of some ridiculous wombo coming through from the Curse of the Sad Mummy, plus the Petrifying Gaze. T-Gun is looking at the newly revamped Kassadin with the potential 2-second Riftwalk at 500 range. But
he was gone for a patch, that Kassadin.
He was. There was a patch where we didn't have to really deal with him hitting the ban list or being picked up all the time. But of course, he's made it to the last round of picks here for Immunity. But we'll see whether that's what they're actually going to commit to, because of course Cheese, he's got 3 high comfort champions. One of them is Kassadin, but it was before the rework. So we'll see whether he does go for it, but looks like it might be Ahri here for the second time. Cheese not having that much success on it the first time, but is going to be locking it away again.
The pick CC is immense, and I very much like the Ahri because she's one of the strongest champions to follow your jungler with and skirmish with early. I see your audible gasp.
No, I just really want that to be a top lane Cassiopeia. That's what I really, really want. And how would that go against a Maokai?
Against Maokai, I think it would be just fine. In fact, one of the popular lane matchups that's coming out of China is the Fizz as a counter pick to Maokai, just because Fizz is so good against tanks. If you don't respect the Cassiopeia damage, she does so much consistent damage. Okay, she'll have problems with mana sustain in the top lane, but if you just pick up teleport, just unload and force people out of base, then just teleport back, you can really control lane. It'd be surprised to see Zed being locked in. It's probably just a hover, but I like the Ahri coming through because the pick CC, Siv's got speed. Everyone else, bucket loads of CC coming through from Immunity.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And of course, Immunity always build these comps around Sivir here as well. And they decided, in order to sort of debunk that whole theory, they take away the Swain, which has been what the On the Hunt has been used for by Immunity in the past. But that is going to be the Zed, potentially in the top lane, potentially in the mid lane, but we haven't seen Moya or Carlos' God play either of these champions yet in the OCS or the OPL.
I mean, we talk about flex picks. Now we're just seeing some crazy pick ban phases coming through. A very high damage comp. It might actually be the Cassiopeia in the top. They have the potential to swap till the last second, so we'll have to wait and monitor the way this the picking phase goes. One thing I really do like is just picking up the Cassiopeia. When the Morgana was locked in, there wasn't a lot of AP damage. Of course, Morgana is so strong as a support when there's only one magic damage source, because theoretically the Black Shield might actually last for the full 8-second duration. But in this situation, if that one source is Cassiopeia, she does so much single target damage. A QE is going to burst through the support Morgana's Black Shield, and that CC reduction being removed away with an Amumu is important synergy for 4Not, as it looks like it will in fact be the Cassiopeia top.
Yeah, Cassiopeia in the top lane, and of course Moya moving to a very different style of champion. When you do love the likes of Orianna and Nidalee, I mean, it's sort of like poke teamfight based. I mean, I guess, you know, Orianna definitely teamfight based, but now going for a split pushing assassin, it is incredibly exciting. But ladies and gentlemen, now that you have seen the lineups, we want you to tell us exactly who you think is going to be able to take this one. Of course, tweet into us, use that hashtag IamOPL along with the hashtag IamWin if you think Immunity's got this one, or hashtag 4NWin if you're in the sort of the underdogs corner with 4Not taking another victory. And I certainly am excited to see whether they can take it, but Immunity's comp is looking terrifying.
And Unity do have some of the answers to what 4Not is posing in terms of questions. Specifically, locking in the Zed as a last pick. Remember, they already have a Maokai on their team. In the late game, we always talk about who is it that's going to be stopping the Zed split push. You, in fact, already alluded to that. Maokai, one of the best champions that can do this, already is innately tanky, already has an ultimate to reduce 20% of damage, will be able to build a Frozen Heart or another item to synergize with his kit and answer Zed's split push. They do have an answer. It's not a Rumble comp, for example, where Rumble might struggle to deal with the Zed split push. And then we've got all these off-meta picks that are really interesting. We've got so much layering of CC potential. If the charm hits, the answer coming through from Maokai, Sejuani, Morgana, Man, I mean, there's no summoner cleansers being taken here. You're going to need to get a very early QSS on CNJ in particular. It does fit the build path nicely for a Kalista. There's a lot of answers being posed, and especially the return of some of the old favorites, of the Amumus in the jungle.
Oh, I love the Amumu in the jungle. And of course, Naya has looked fantastic on that one in the past. I remember, I have sort of these horrible memories that I think it was actually against Team Immunity that Naya picked the Amumu, and they paired it with Moya's Orianna, and they just destroyed Zahi when he was trying to take his red buff in a second, with the ball-carrying little sad mummy just heading over that wall and just insta-killing the jungler. And that has stuck with me. That is a terrifying thought.
And you have to think, even though it's been multiple months since that OCS match, that qualified between these two teams, that loss to 4Not hasn't gone out of Immunity's minds either. They've already gotten a win. They've already got a bit of revenge, but ending 4Not's hopes at moving out of the promotion relegation and giving themselves the hopes of staying ahead of Avant is a massive thing for Immunity here. They're an emotional team. It's an important game for them. I do like the comp they picked a little bit more just because they do have that specific answer to the Zed, and also I feel like Sejuani on this patch a little bit stronger than Amumu, and of course has the option of a ranged engage rather than having to get into melee range, but they're very competitive comps, and it's going to be an exciting game, all about the team fights, though.
It's so all about the team fights, and it's off the back of these junglers as well. The Bandage Toss Curse of the Sad Mummy, in comparison to that Glacial Prison, which just trolls me every single time because, of course, Lissandra, Frozen
She was banned out, though. We're all right.
Oh, man. It's just
deep breath.
A cold place to be trapped. I'm just going to use that as a blanket term for every single one of those ultimates because it's just getting a little bit crazy. Even for Ashe. Yep. Cold place to get stuck.
The Queen of Freljord, not seeing too much play, though, so you're all right. No enchanted crystal arrows coming through.
Oh, that's what it's called.
Yep.
Brilliant. We've nailed it. It's been a long time since we've seen the Ashe. I do remember that she has a volley and a hawk shot, though. Nailed it. We're doing well. We are definitely doing well. But I've derailed you here just a little bit, Papa Smithy, as we're going into this game. And what I wanted to talk about as well is this top lane matchup, because we haven't seen a Cassiopeia into a Maokai, but I could imagine it'd actually work out quite well here for Cassiopeia because you can zone away from creeps. But is that passive going to be sort of enough to deal with it, and Maokai can just sort of be a tree?
It's very good that you shout out the passive because, again, Cassiopeia is about multiple spellcasts. So you theoretically have quite a bit of sustain coming through from the passive. To me, the big item timing is finishing the Spectre's Cowl, finishing the item that, of course, gives you health regen on enemy spell hit. Plenty of enemy spell hits going to be coming from the Cassiopeia. It's a range versus melee matchup. Cassiopeia bosses anyone in the range of her Q. Whenever she confirms the Q, will go all in with the Twin Fang.
Yep.
But of course, doesn't have Ignite. It doesn't have a lot of kill pressure in lane necessarily. If a Mumu pays a tribute, activates his passive, which of course lowers the magic resist, could potentially be some kill pressure. But you feel like Maokai will get to a point where she'll be able to struggle just shrug off the damage coming through from Cassiopeia. And Cassiopeia in team fights, though, when you're an AoE wombo team that wants to dive in, you never really want to dive against the Petrifying Gaze.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a scary thought there, no pun intended. And of course, in that top lane as well, Ryu, originally a StarCraft player, actually played in the GSL. He's always had sort of amazing mechanics. And who would have expected another StarCraft player coming over here onto Team Immunity? Of course, T-Gun known for that one as well. So they're sort of old buddies here. So having sort of your shot caller and your top laner with sort of some innate synergy from an old friendship, that's also going to be useful coming into this one.
And it's also competitive gaming experience at the highest level.
That's the thing.
In these situations, this is a high-pressure game for Immunity. They have a very difficult run-in. They face Avant next, which is a must-win game for them. But they need to win here just to give themselves the best chance possible to finish fourth. Difference between fourth and fifth, playoffs versus just, basically be in that situation, the privileged situation, but still the situation where you watch the best teams play off and the teams lower than yourselves and just really have no say, no ability to impact the standings. It's a frustrating thing, especially for these competitive players who've been playing other games, like you said. So hopefully that experience really keeps them level heads because it's a massive game. It's a league format. We're definitely in the business end of the season. Only 4 matches left for both teams, and both teams really needing that win. Yeah,
and there's the fact that, T-Gun, of course, known as this vocal shot caller, very emotional in the games here as well. Everyone knows. I mean, T-Gun he's pretty loud, and it's actually quite difficult.
Coming from you, of course.
Yeah, at a live event, even if there's a 3-minute delay, whether something's gone right for Immunity, because you can hear T-Gun screaming at the top of his lungs. So definitely very committed to his team winning. So, of course, Immunity, if they don't get into the playoffs, they're going to be very disappointed. And they've had a difficult time. I mean, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a slight pause coming into this game straight away. That's why we're just talking some smack about T-Gun over and over again because, you know, we just think he's
It's
an
what we
interesting
do,
guy.
Atlas.
It is a little bit what we do. We can go back to the 4Not Wombo, though, because would you really say that a Zed fits in this comp?
Well, that's why I hesitate to call what 4Not are fielding a wombo comp, because Cassiopeia always works best when she's being engaged upon rather than engaging. You can ult flash, it's a bit like the Shen taunt flash, and cancel that animation and try to go for a surprise engage. But that's once every 5 minutes. You know, it's very situational. Enemy teams can be ready for it. But a Flash ultimate in particular, you know, Flash has a cast time, Ultimate has that mini cast time. It's just not very reliable initiate. Even if a Mumu is initiating, everyone's going to be running away from that sad mummy. Never any friends for him on the Rift, especially on the enemy team. So you're not really going to be in a position to get the double AoE wombo, whereas Sejuani ultimate into the Soul Shackles is an obvious wombo coming through from Unity, even though, of course, it's combining the support. The Pixie sees strong on both teams, but the Vengeful Maelstrom in the late game, I think, will be negating a lot of what Cassiopeia is doing, because, of course, she's a fairly short-ranged mage, basically probably about the same amount of range as the Vengeful Maelstrom, maybe a little bit more, but it's going to be she's going to be the obvious target to be initiated upon, because she's the one who's the most positioning reliant. She has a lot of consistent damage. That's why when we see Cassiopeia in the mid lane, often picks up Cleanse just to be unhindered in a fight. Might need to go for an early QSS just to be able to do consistent damage. The laning phase between Maokai and Cassiopeia top is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see Cassiopeia top working in certain matchups against Gnar, perhaps. You know, you can really bully around the mini Gnar, take advantage of that matchup. But in this matchup, so much sustain, as you mentioned, coming through from the passive. Look, it can all be vindicated. We've already mentioned Fizz is very strong in lane against the Maokai, so I imagine it's going to be similar coming through from Cassiopeia. The kind of downside compared to Fizz is that Fizz now builds AD, so he does the mixed damage, and very easy. As I said, the Spectre's Cowl, first item, 1,400 gold, 1,200 gold. I forget how much that item cost. That's the first big pickup.
1,200, yeah.
1,200 gold.
I believe, although I never buy it, I only buy Trinity Forces on all of my champions. Ryu, though, I mean, he does have the Maokai, who has the highest based AD, and he's got a very reliable gap closer. So even level 1, I mean, you could go full Spawn here. Of course, Jake Spawn Tiberi. Of course, the
big advocate of the auto attacks.
Yeah, he does like the auto attack Maokai build in some Doran's Blades. He actually confirmed that it's 2 Doran's Blades into Trinity Force if you want to properly play a Maokai in the top.
I feel like Ryu hasn't been cribbing his notes, though. Doran rings start for a little bit more ranged farming.
I guess he really likes it.
I mean, the other issue with Cassiopeia top, I mean, she's a strong 1v1 laner, but when she's played in the mid lane, what's the thing we always say? We say, watch out for the ganks, because she's going to overextend for damage. In the top lane, and specifically in a lane swap, Cassiopeia would really struggle. She'd actually auto-attack and last hit quite fine. You can just use the E, which, of course, the Twin Flame doesn't cost mana if it last hits a minion.
Yep.
So you would be able to get the range farming in. But just like when Ryze was put in a 1v2, very diveable champion, especially early. So lane swap, Maokai, one of the best champions in lane swap, despite being a melee champion, has masses of ranged wave clear, which doesn't even cost that much mana. The Arcane Smash in particular, you max it first and does a lot of ranged wave clear. Cassiopeia, she has some range wave clear, but a lot easier to dive a Cassiopeia than a Maokai.
Yeah, and when you're under turret as well, it's hard to rely on sort of poison tick damage to really make sure that those last hits come through. So it could actually be difficult, but we'll see, because of course Carlos is God has shown us some pretty amazing things on quite a variety of champions as well.
And the Diana was available, remember? Diana available, not taken. So definitely showing us something different. We're going to be so interested to see how the Cassiopeia top goes. There are definitely certain matchups where I'd be like, all right, should be able to bully around this lane. But Maokai, nobody really bullies around the tree.
No, I mean, he's a tree. So it's not like you get bullied. He's sort of in the playground, but he's just chilling out. No one's really going to be bullying the tree. That is ridiculous. But we will see how it goes. As, ladies and gentlemen, we're on to the Rift with Team Immunity taking on 4Not for our first game of the day here at the beginning of Week 6. And already Immunity quite grouped up here, and we'll see whether they're going to utilize that Dark Binding to really get something going here at the beginning of this match.
Patch 5.5, Sejuani hits the meta. 4Not going to feel robbed to not be the first team to be able to field the Sejuani. Very strong on this patch 5.5. Immunity, the sad mummy is getting a bit close to all this action.
Oh, Naya. That could be a negative maneuver. Immunity, they have shown themselves. Is not far enough. He gets Dark Bound here as well. Not even going to use the flashes. There's the shield coming through from Zaldo. Actually may have saved his life.
Worth knowing that I believe at level 1, 669 health, so had a lot of health. Wanted to hold on to the flash. Didn't manage to juke it, but flash used. Probably not going to be a big situation, but look, if I was Immunity, if I really wanted to win this game, and look, obviously they want to win every game, but given the stakes in this particular game, what better time to invade the Sad Mummy, who just wants to have an uninterrupted, fast, clear jungle, than when his flash is down?
Yeah, I believe there's sort of permanently a good time to invade the Sad Mummy in the early stages.
Well, that's a go button if there ever was one, Atlas.
Absolutely. You have not... Making it easier, that's just ridiculous. So Naya might have to be careful here at the early stages, but we were talking about the fact that Sejuani, not a lot of early pressure as far as counter jungle is concerned.
Oh, the big situation is that Sejuani falls in health quite low on her first clear, even with the tweaks. Of course, the tweaks are when you have the Bammy Cinder, when you have finished the Cinder Hulk item, but at early levels, she farms relatively fast, but can fall low in the jungle. So both these junglers on their first clear are a bit brittle, but it's not a Lee Sin versus a Mumu matchup. It's two AoE farmers who just want to get to level 6 as fast as possible.
Yeah, Naya already starting on his blue buff over here as well, as the minions have crashed here. And we'll see how this top lane works out. I think that's probably one of the most interesting matchups. And to say that when there's a Zed versus Ahri, one of the most volatile lanes in the game, is definitely something.
We got the 1v1, so Cassiopeia at least doesn't have to deal with a lane swap situation. I mean, the big question becomes how much sustain can Maokai get with the auto attacks? If he's zoned away from auto attacks, the passive doesn't count for anything.
Yeah, well, it's true. At the moment, we do have a slight lead here for Carlos's God. He's pushing in very heavily, though, which is something that you're going to expect from a Cassiopeia, as he's also going to have a bit of a giggle.
You can see it's level 2 to level 1. So this is what Cassiopeia players try to do in the mid lane and melee matchups. Just in short, because there's this basic implied zone where Ryu just can't afford to take a Q because he knows how many Twin Fangs will instantly come out. We just saw one trade there. That's level 1 in both abilities and already doing a fifth of Ryu's health. He has to respect the huge damage potential. And if I'm a Mumu, even though I want to clear the jungle, the turret dive is already looking really juicy.
Yeah, and Carlos is able to hit all of these noxious blasts here under the turret, and Ryu's going to have to be very careful because you're right. I mean, the dive might come through even without an Amumu.
Yeah, look, if it was a Jarvan jungle, especially with the changes that make Jarvan less likely to jungle for a long time with the 10 less armor, this will be an excellent turret dive. But Sejuani is already pathed naturally to the Gromp, so she would be available for an answering, and it's still Amumu versus Sejuani. We have to remember that. We can see the flashing health bars. This isn't people invading. This is just their first clear.
Yep, and actually Naya is dead. Yeah, he was killed by the Krogs. That's on purpose, ladies and gentlemen. He just wanted to save 12 seconds of his buffs because, of course, you don't lose them if you die to the jungle camps. And, yep, you're welcome, Naya.
I unfortunately didn't have his flash available to flash away from the Krogs.
Yeah, that's what he normally does in his first clear. I've seen that one come.
Not all junglers use both summoners when they're clearing the jungle, but that's Naya on the Amumu.
Yeah, well, Naya does some interesting things. Oh, that charm looked like it hit. This ninja unable to be charmed, and she's actually getting the Orb of Deception. Lots of damage here as well. Is the Ignite going to be coming through here? It flashes forward. The first blood solo kill from Cheese's Ahri.
And Moya has both summoners available. If you watch the early lane, she's getting so many auto attacks in. No Doran's Shield, of course, the more selfish longsword start. You could see Moya's frustration. He wanted to eventually answer all the auto attack trades, but he chose the wrong time to do it as Zahi shows up in bottom.
Yeah, beautiful Howling Gale, but there's the Dark Binding under Zaldo. Black Shield on the pig. That is the biggest shield ever. And Uber Bro wishes that was first blood after Cheese managed to pick that one up. T-Gun going down extremely low. Dark Binding not going to find a target as CNJ just going to cancel some autos there, hanging out.
You can see that Uber is a very practiced Sivir play. Some players will discount the Fleet of Foot passive. You can flash aggressively because you'll always get an extra auto or two under the turret because you have that extra movement speed to close the distance, even as a 500 range AD carry. So successful gank in the bottom, solo kill in the mid. Immunity, they needed the win, they're looking good.
Yeah, and CNJ actually forced to use that flash here as well as Zahi came back around, used that Arctic Assault to really get in his face, and going to have to be heading back here as well. Vamp Scepter has been picked up. Of course, Callista loving that one as we check back into this top side, and Ryu, he's going to head back to base potentially as Carlos is God actually handling his mana a lot better than I was expecting because, of course, at level 2, he'd already ran through most of it.
He's just using the auto attacks to last hit the minions, and as you see, his passive just comes through, so he now just has the extra statistics coming through from the aspect of the Serpent passive. Yeah, very quick. And that's just how much harassment he's gotten in. Of course, it's percentage of damage ticks, poison ticks against the enemy champions. Doing plenty of that.
Yeah, it's really, really well done. It's a nice ward to come through from Rio as well. Spots out Moya looking for a potential dive as Cheese might find him in the transition. Doesn't get the second tick of that Orb of Deception, but it's a nice charm to come down.
And he actually uses the Shadow in front of Cheese, despite being level 5 to level 6. If another charm registers, the all-in could be coming, even with Ignite down.
Yeah, and you were mentioning the fact that Cheese was harassing with auto attacks. This is actually beautiful to watch, of course, making sure that he's punishing Moya's pick of this melee champion and never letting him get away with anything. And to me, Cheese's Ahri has improved tenfold since we saw it last.
And the solo kill vindicates that playstyle, because there was an element of frustration. He'd taken probably effectively 300, 400 damage during the laning phase just from the auto attacks of an AP champion. It works against you. Like, all right, I'm going to get in there. I'm in melee range. I'm going to answer you with some orders of my own. And fell down in the process.
Yeah, and 4Not Carlos's god has actually kept his teleport here as well, because, of course, that wave was pushed way up there on the top side. Cheese being forced out of his lane here by Naya, who's just doing a bit of a drive-by in the middle lane. And, ooh, bandage not to be found as Curse of the Sad Mummy now available.
So I guess the big question is, can they use this teleport either with a counter gank in the bottom lane or starting up Dragon? They have the teleport reinforcement, though Maokai is actually on a roam to the mid lane.
Yeah, he's on his way. This tree moving forward. Moya might be in a little bit of trouble. Of course, Living Shadow is there. There's a Ventral Maelstrom to come through. Moya is going to need to do some fancy footwork here. Doesn't manage to get back to the Shadow. There's the Ignite. Perfectly back off cooldown, and Cheese picks up another one.
Yeah, you're playing down Cheese's Ahri, but showing a wonderful performance so far. Definitely got the mechanics, I guess, in solo queue and perhaps a scrim environment between games, but so on point. Being very judicious with his mana as well, not looking to just use all his spells, but confirm each and every one of them.
Yeah, really, really beautiful play coming through. And of course, you get really excited about seeing Cheese's Swain in the mid lane because he shows so much mastery. But so far, this Ahri performance has been brilliant as Naya actually looking to stop this Dragon. 3-man Curse of the Sad Mummy. T-Gun taking a lot of damage. Forced to use that flash to get out of there. Ignite still ticking down as Naya just tanking up everything here. Petrifying Gaze comes through, only getting the slow, but Uberbro's taking so much consistent damage from this snake that... Wow, runs out of mana at exactly the wrong time, but Immunity, they've been forced off. Zahi looking to start something up, but a little bit too aggressive as C&J finishes off the kill.
It was the worst time to run out of mana. Maybe he should have just held on to the mana from the ultimate for consistent damage, unfortunately, Carlos's god. Couldn't register stun on any members, and then just ran out of mana when he was chasing down Uberbro. Would have already had the movement speed coming through from the Q, so didn't necessarily need the ultimate slow. And the result is only just the single kill, I believe, but it should be the Dragon.
Yeah, but utilizing that teleport very, very well, they are going to be able to take down this Dragon. And this is a good beginning here because that teamfight looked great for 4Not.
Absolutely. It was a wonderful teleport spot. The ward could not have been placed better. We could have seen the potential flash ultimate flashing past the enemy members and then using the petrifying gaze as they were going away, but didn't go for that. They still picked up a kill in Dragons. It's still a successful teleport, but so much of this turret health falls down, and Ryu, importantly, on about 1,200 gold, he will be able to pick up that Spectre's Cowl on the next back, and we'll have to wait and watch this lane to see if Carlos's god can apply the same pressure when that important first item timing is completed.
Yeah, and Ryu utilizing Maokai's very high base attack damage in order to take down that turret. But of course, trading that for a Dragon, is that worth it in the early game? Because of course, getting some global gold onto a lot of these members is going to be great. It's
a consistent question that people ask is it worth the first Dragon? What's it worth? Of course, it doesn't give the team gold anymore. The experience is also low.
It does give you that seat towards the second Dragon. That's kind of an intangible. The 6% stats will scale over the game. At this present point, I definitely take a Dragon for a kill, but we might see a fight in bot. Yeah, there's the Soul Shackles coming through here as well. T-Gun's going so incredibly fast. Dark Binding after the Soul Shackles stun is beautiful, but the heal to come down. C&J trying to turn it around. The Ren comes through. He picks up the kills. A Boomerang doesn't find C&J. Ryu, he's teleported into the backside, looking for a twisted advance. He may need to flash for it, which of course is available. But there's a battle of the mid laners here at the same time. Moya looking for the E, but doesn't find it. Deathmark not going to net him a kill as there's the Fates call under Zelda. Uberbro trying to use the shield. The auto attack of Destiny from Zelda to finish that one up.
C&J's still alive.
He's trying to do some work in the backside, and Zelda actually living through this one as well. Nice Monsoon to come down, and look at how many Ren stacks there are in that tree. Moya turning it around. The Shuriken's enough, and Zahi says, I'm out of here, but Naya says no. 4Not looking for fights all over the Rift. And this pig might have to be careful. There's the ultimate to come down, and Moya, Living Shadows his way in. Is he going to be able to pick up the kill? The Shuriken does it. Then Naya not quite in range of the turret, and T-Gun wishes he was a mid lane Morgana.
What a massive fight for 4Not. CNJ stayed alive. The red buff was so important at the side of the fight. That was initiated by T-Gun. That's what you have to remember. Immunity initiated and they got whitewashed by 4Not. CNJ kept the auto attacks up. You saw how important the martial poise was during that fight. He eats a binding. There isn't the damage and there is the help to get him away. But that's a massive momentum shift. 2,000 gold is the lead for 4Not.
Yeah, and Naya, he's got the Cinder Hulk now already. And you saw how incredibly tanky he was in these fights, and any indirect buff to Amumu is just a massive buff for 4Not because they play around Amumu so beautifully. We saw it in the OCS.
But you can see from the first clear that these tank junglers are exploitable. They fall so low in the jungle. We saw one person executed, the enemy jungler so low. I think there still will be a place for the Jarvans of the world, for the Lee Sins of the world. Maybe it will bring back the aggressive-minded counter jungler that we remember from Preseason 1, the introduction of Nunu to deal with some of the weaker junglers back then. Those champions still work against the likes of Amumu and Sejuani, but if you let them get through their clear, we already see they can be team fight gods.
Yeah, well, it's true. And speaking of which, CNJ on his way to being massive in this game. 2-0-2 now on this Kalista, and he's played it once before, and it was actually relatively impressive. The rest of his team sort of falling behind a little bit, but CNJ was able to pick up a few kills in that match, but we'll see whether they can actually pull through into the later stages, because they've got almost a 1,000 gold lead, and they're up in Dragons, and they've taken equal turrets.
And I really like the Blade the Ruin King first completion on CNJ. The reason why I say that is they've got a Zed, so they're not really looking necessarily for the team fights pronto. That's not their first port of call. They want to get Zed split pushing once he finishes the Blade the Ruin King. So going for a split push item like Blade the Ruin King that CNJ has helps him in the 1v1 situation, helps him when he's dueling against Uberbro, and he'll transition that into the Renset build, into the Hurricane later, or he'll just go standard. So he does have flexible options, and it's not pigeonholing his team into, let's team fight, I've got my Hurricane right now. He's got the Blade the Ruin King just for that immediate power jump.
And you can see already Immunity actually trying to set up vision here around the Dragon, but 4Not not allowing that one to happen. CNJ going to clear out that pink ward as he takes down the little Rift Scuttler here as well, as Naya is going to have his Raptor buff procced by that little ward near the Dragon as well. So moving towards the last remaining outer turret here for 4Not. And they're playing this game very effectively. I mean, this is not the 4Not that we're used to seeing with sort of clear plans, clear movements around the map. And we'll see. Like, I'm starting to believe in the dream.
It's a big item advantage in time. Castle's got finished an Archangel Staff as we should see the last outer turret come down. He's already at 400 stacks because you finished the Archangels 8 per stack, and Cassiopeia always getting the spells out. That should be finished at about 18 minutes into the game. Only a Catalyst for Maokai. Hard to say whether he'll go for the buffed Righteous Glory or just work towards other armor and magic resist items like the Spectre's Cowl, like the Glacial Shroud. But the immediate power jump at 17 minutes, especially if we have Blade the Ruin King completed as well, could be massive, but Naya goes in, doesn't use the ultimate this time.
Yeah, he's looking for something there, but unable to quite find it. As he's just going to head back to his jungle here as well. 56 to 43 as far as those jungle camp clears are concerned, coming through from both of these guys. And Naya using the fact that Amumu clears the jungle very effectively, and that Despair plus the Cinder Hulk means that Amumu gets through his jungle so fast nowadays.
And of course, you have to refer to the fact that he's taking the blue buffs. He has a Zed who eventually might command the blue buffs, but he has blue buffs consistently. He's maxing the Tantrum first, which means he takes negligible damage from the jungle camps and a lot of spamming coming through. And he's tanky already. He's not really that interested in Nari's damage.
Yeah, not too worried about Cheese here at all, as Immunity have prime position around this Dragon. Boomerang Blade's going to hit Zaldo for a fair bit, but of course, hasn't been completely buffed up yet as Moy. He's going to take a Dark Binding. There's the Wombo to come through. It's a Glacial Prison there at the same time. Naya, he's in the backline, but doesn't quite manage to get through the Black Shield quite quickly enough. Cheese is going to take down Zaldo here as well. But Carlos has got us trying to do some work. Dies to Uber Bro, and Immunity doing some... What the heck, Naya? What are you doing? Is CNJ trying to catch this one out? But Uber Bro picks up the triple and another Dark Binding to land from T-Gun. The quadra kill for Uber Bro.
Freshly shopped with just an Infinity Edge, but sometimes things line up for you as an AD carry, and Uber Bro quadra kill all off the back of excellent work from T-Gun. The initiating binding, then finally locking down CNJ as well. Did massive work that fight, and you could see how frustrated CNJ was. all of his team fell down. So despite the fact that he was freshly shopped with the early blade of the Ruined King, no frontline meant that he just couldn't spread the damage. We saw how much damage he can do in a long, elongated fight when he can use his passive for mobility. But in that choke point, everything lined up for the AoE team immunity, and suddenly 4Not, they're in a hole. This has been a seesaw game. Advantage right now at 16 minutes lies with immunity.
Yeah, and they just immediately got that pick on Namoya. He was unable to do anything at all in that fight, and that was just huge because the pick potential coming through from this comp, despite the fact that they've got this sort of AoE wombo, they've still got the Charm Dark Binding, which means that you can automatically just remove one of the threats.
You know, even talking about the twisted advance from Maokai, the targeted CC. If you miss a skill shot, you got targeted CC, and then another CC can come through. So as you mentioned, a lot of CC among the members. Already see the Mercury Treads coming through for a couple of members. It'll be interesting to see how many Mercury Treads we see across the board for both teams. They're very, very CC-focused comps. It's going to be Rylai's second for Carlos's God. In a long lane, you cannot hang with a Cassiopeia with the Rylai's completed.
Oh, Naya actually going to face check this one here as well as Ryu comes through with a twisted advance. The puddles there doing some work, but T-Gun wants to shackle everyone down. Zaldo's going to get stunned. Naya immediately removed as Ryu going to take the death mark. He's going to die from it as well here as Carlos picks that one up. And the Orbit Deception not going to do too much because the extra health from that Giant's Belt really helping Carlos out.
Yeah, Carlos is doing a lot of damage, but the big thing for Cassiopeia is the next item completion. Like we said, the Rylai's means so much consistent CC when they added the 35% single target slow to the Twin Fang, reverting a change from many moons ago, makes Cassiopeia so strong and inherently tanky. It's soon going to be the Seraphs, checking the stacking, 612, so another minute or two we'll have the Seraphs for the extra tankiness, and then the Rylai's as well to complement that. But Immunity should get the answering outer turret, evening up the outer turrets, all outer turrets down. As 4Not, they're not finding the engages they want, and the Dark Bindings they've been registering from T-Gun.
Yeah, they've been fantastic so far. Cheesazari also doing really, really well. You can see 4, 1, and 3 now on the Foxy Lady, and Uberbro, after that quadra kill, he is gigantic.
Yeah, he just managed to pick up the Berserker's Greaves instantly into most of his Zeal, sitting on 830 gold. CNJ's no slouch, also has very comparable items in terms of gold values. It's about 1,000 gold behind from the quadra kill, so effectively the quadra kill equaling and then giving Uberbro this small lead. But CNJ, we've already seen the Martial Poise, Callista's Kit. If it's the right fight, if he can open up space, he'll do a lot of damage in a fight.
Yeah, you only sort of need certain items, and then you can be the Callista that everyone's witnessed throughout the world since she's hit popularity. So we'll see whether CNJ can be that player. Oh, Zhonya's Hourglass actually already completed here for Cheese. We'll see whether anyone's actually going to be picking up that Luden's Echo now that it is 5.5. But it is, of course, doesn't offer you anything defensively, which can make it a dangerous pick.
I mean, movement speed is kind of deceptive. It's a bit of a defensive statistic, a bit of an offensive statistic. There's some champions that use it really well. We've seen AP Nidalee's, I believe, in the OCS as well, picking up Luden's Echo. I think it's an interesting one on that. Of course, it gives your spear poke a bit of AoE, so it's a nice kind of interesting mechanic. And of course on Nidalee, because she activates so many spells between her two forms, people that switch between forms really do use the Luden's Echo well. So probably not going to see it in this game, but you can see one change that's definitely come through. CNJ does eat a binding.
He jumps into the binding. So that was not exactly what he was working out there. Sort of outplayed himself just a little bit, but now trying to turn it around. Nice dodge of all of the skill shots from Cheese here by CNJ as he's playing very aggressively on this Callista at this point in time.
But you can see the Righteous Glory purchase, the 2 Righteous Glories completed on immunity. Receive that extra 125 health as Zaldo also eats a bind. And this time Cheese goes in.
Yeah, Cheese looking for it. Fate's Call's going to get Zaldo out of there as well as CNJ trying to jump around this one. The Black Shield not quite doing the work that Cheese wants it to, just because that Callista is going to be doing a lot of physical damage. Pierce not going to find its mark as CNJ can't quite work out who to kill at this stage. Bevy of options to come down is going to flash out of the way of the Dark Binding. Now looking to go aggressive. Charm lands onto Zaldo. Cheese picks it up and CNJ needs to be very careful. There's actually beautiful use of the Blade of the Ruined King as Cheese has to be so careful, but just gets killed. And Naya again finds himself in amongst a whole group of people. There's the flash of the ulti from Carlos. He's got the shutdown from Naya onto the AD carriers. Moya now coming through, trying to get a pick, but doesn't quite find it. Carlos has got somehow unable to get charmed by that one. And Ryu, before the Arcane Smash could even come out, was executed by the Mummy.
Yeah, 4Not was shuffling one by one, but the important member was Carlos's God. No escaping from that Cassiopeia now. She's the most important member for 4Not at this point in time because her consistent damage, especially if she lives in these 2v2 situations after a team fight, she just has so many options to gap close. Speed, slow. She's very, very powerful. They didn't get quite the full purchase, but her ultimate was massive in that fight.
Yeah, and had just picked up the Riot's Crystal Scepter
Seraph's
here
complete as well.
Yeah, so massive power spike to come through. And what do you think Carlos aims for next? Does he want to be picking up, you know, one of the Zhonyas, one of the Abyssal Scepters, or do you think you just go damage?
I mean, consistent damage is the thing for Cassiopeia. Her ratios are okay, but you want to stay alive to keep doing the damage. So Abyssal Scepter, Zhonyas, whichever threats you see being the highest, and with Ari at 6-1 and a 5-2 Sivir, you're kind of split for options. I like the Abyssal, a bit more damage. You can kind of disrespect Ari's damage and get into that melee range, keep chasing. So Abyssal Scepter Zhonya's, I think, should be the next 2 pickups to complement what was the Sorcerer's Shoes as the first pickup.
Yeah, and Carlos's God could potentially just eliminate Uberbro in a matter of seconds here as well if he lands his spells right, so may not be as much of a threat here as Immunity now wresting control of this dragon area, just spawning as you can see.
1-to-1 is the dragons. We do have the nice dragon counter at the top, which makes our lives
5.
so much
5
easier.
was the best patch ever.
Best patch
ladies
ever.
and gentlemen, as there is 200 gold in this game. It is so incredibly close. Naya looking to come through and just make his presence known as they try and take down this ward, but the fight breaks out. Immediate Fate's call to come through, doesn't get any knockups. Azahi, there's the Glacial Prison, but Zaldo's the only reciprocant of that one as Ryu now taking a lot of damage. CNJ looking for it as the Rampage comes down, but Curse of the Sad Mummy in the back line, and CNJ is going off in this fight. My goodness, 4Not, when they get a team fight they want, they look super good.
The positioning was excellent from 4Not in that fight. At the back of the fight, CNJ fighting with Carlos's God. This is one of the underrated things about Cassiopeia, is that people say, oh, her ultimate's situational. But if you're standing next to the hyper carry, the enemy has to dive. Petrifying Gaze is always going to get a couple of stuns. You're doing massive focus damage between the Twin Fang spamming and all of this Ren stacks coming through from CNJ. So they had their 2 tanks fighting in the front. Naya held on to the ultimate, just like she was just like Amumu was an Orianna, held the ultimate. It wasn't for initiation. It was on to cheese in the back line. Fantastic fighting with these off-meta picks. That's what 4Not did in the OCS, finally bringing it into the OPL.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of kill distribution here as well, making sure that they get a bit of gold onto this Amumu. And we often have these conversations about don't funnel gold onto the jungler, but if Amumu gets a bit of gold, he just gets unkillable.
And he just does so much consistent damage. That's the thing. Of course, with Cinderhulk, you don't have to go necessarily for the Sunfire cape. You're getting a pseudo Sunfire in that item that makes it this builds so well. Of course, health stacking was something he liked to do already. Now he has the supportive Locket coming through. Cooldown reduction, health. Amumu has very flexible build paths depending on how he's doing. Of course, we remember the Sunfire cape Abyssal days. Abyssal still a very realistic option coming through. Cassiopeia is sitting on 1,600 gold, so maybe it will be the Nina's Large Rod as the purchase, just because that's how the gold values worked out. Again, I would have maybe preferred the Abyssal. It does double duty with the Amumu, of course, reducing so much magic resist between Amumu's passive and the Abyssal Scepter. But look, you never really argue with a mage picking up a Nina's Large Rod.
That's true. I mean, you get that sort of 1,600-itis when you go back to the shop. You have to pick up
that
Nina's Large Rod.
Recognized AP mid disease?
Yeah, no, I've got it. I've got it right now, actually. It's very contagious. I think you've probably got it now, too. Unfortunate.
I liked Abyssal.
Sorry about that, Papa Smithy, but you'll be forever building needlessly large rods. So make sure you're playing champions that can use it, like Tryndamere and Rengar.
I don't know what you're talking about, Alice. CNJ pushes in the mid lane.
Trying to change the subject here is Papa Smithy, but 4Not now finally with some control over this game. 1,000 gold in the lead, have a couple of dragons. CNJ playing really, really nicely and very far forward, dodging out of the way of a lot of these abilities coming down from Immunity. Even getting some cheeky turret damage.
But actually, Moya's eaten the Glacial Prison.
He's going to get caught here as well, but that is going to be the ult used on a single member. The teleport being baited out here by Team Immunity is immediately going to take that one as Carlos is going to get charmed up. He's taking a lot of damage here as well. Nice Monsoon to try and keep him alive from Zelda, and the fight's broken off. Immunity trying to get some stuns with that Soul Shackles, but CNJ keeping safe in the backline, and Moya turning it around. Carlos has got so much damage, the triple kill to come down now and forces the flash out over the wall. Carlos is God is a god.
Unbelievable that no one died from 4Not. They probably have the less regular comp. They have an Amumu that has to get into melee range. You can't just throw out the Glacial Prison. But Zahi, he threw out the Glacial Prison on one member, and the Talisman finished very early from Zaldo. Opened enough space. The re-engage happened. The AoE CC all came together. And 4Not, they're going to take, at minimum, the first inhibitor of the game.
Yeah, and you can see CNJ gleefully bouncing around that inhibitor as well. He played that last team fight so beautifully as we see it again.
So Carlos' God is picked, and in fact, the Flash Charm comes through. They really want this pick on Carlos' God, but he's very, very tanky. Now watch the threats. Carlos' God doing consistent damage, but CNJ skipping in and out of damage, has to flash away from the Soul Shackles. Still alive. They re-engage, but Carlos' God, he's already got a double kill. With the Rylas, you can't run away from this man. He's so tanky with the Seraph's Embrace and the health stacking.
Yeah, 6-1 and 6 now as Carlos has got on this Cassiopeia. Has the death cap completed. Didn't want to go for that Zhonya's Hourglass. No. He wants to have that double 30% extra AP after he completes the stacking of his passive, which has to be getting up there now.
Yeah, I believe it's at 200 something. It's very hard to tell from the client, but it's pushing up there in terms of numbers. I mean, Maokai is the big loss this game. 0, 6, and 8 kind of split between 2 AP items. So a Magic Resist and an Armor item, 2 intermediate items. He still has a long way to go to be able to soak the damage coming out from CNJ or from Carlos' God. He kind of has to choose one and deal with the ramifications. And speaking of ramifications, this Baron's going to die real fast.
Super fast. And 4Not, they're going to have so many Ren stacks in it. It just melts to the damage of 4Not. Double Blade of the Ruin King, a gigantic snake. And man, 4Not just completely new team coming through into this one, and they just seem to have Immunity's number. Of course, in the OCS, they knocked them down to the lower bracket.
And we're seeing shades of that here, Atlas, and it's the return of CNJ to the lineup. 4Not looking settled, playing very well as a team. I remember in the past, we always talked about how Cassiopeia was a great champion taking neutrals. Feels like Callista is the AD carry version of Cassiopeia in that regard with the consistent damage. They exploded the Baron. Sieging not that easy for the team despite having the 3 ranged auto attackers, and they don't necessarily want to choose a fight against all the CC coming through from Immunity.
Yeah, but of course Immunity, it's going to be very difficult for them to get up and do any damage to this Siege minion that's just going to be beating down on that turret.
That's actually aggroed onto Zahi. They'll like that quite a lot.
Moved the wrong way around, and the Boomerang's going to be able to pick that one up. CNJ didn't manage to kick the soccer ball away as it came at him there, and we're going to try and get some more damage down with this next wave. But against a Sivir, it's a difficult prospect.
I feel with all the consistent damage coming from Cassiopeia, we could have seen the QSS third coming through from CNJ and not really been a big damage loss. He's gone for the more greedy build. His positioning will have to be on point. No flash, no heal. They should not overextend, because if they do see the Glacial Prison coming through, that's the first of a long chain of CC onto this Callista. They need to be very careful with how they choose to push with this Baron buff to 4Not.
Yeah, and they've got a couple of dragons. Want that movement speed from the third as the dragon has come back up. Naya definitely tanky enough, and they're going to be able to make short work of this one here as well. And I want to mention CNJ's build here at the same time, because he hasn't built any extra crit, and it looks like he's going towards that Infinity Edge. I really hope that's Bloodthirster Last Whisper.
Bloodthirster Last Whisper. It's very possible. As you say, I agree. Infinity Edge doesn't really synergize with the items that Callista is known for building, because, of course, the bolts coming through from the Hurricane don't apply critical strike. Apply on hit effects, so Blade the Ruin King Hurricane, excellent synergy. Yeah. Bloodthirster Hurricane, you're at least getting the lifesteal effectively from both the bolts, but critical strike, no, it is going to be the Infinity Edge. I don't think it's the most efficient build path. Of course, he's doing well. He's actually only 500 gold ahead, so he hasn't necessarily built his items efficiently. If you compare damage, especially to a single target, Uberbro is going to be doing huge damage, going for the most optimal AD carry build in the Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer, Last Whisper, but no lifesteal. Cassiopeia is going to be taking magic damage, that's for sure, with Carlos' God spreading so much AoE. As a 500 range carry against Amumu, against Zed, I just don't know how Sivir's going to be able to get any damage off. She's going to be zoned for so much of the fight.
Yeah, and CNJ, of course, does still have a lot of damage from that Infinity Edge. And if you get a critical strike to come through on the primary bolt, still going to do
I'm the color caster. I want to see the optimal builds. I want to see attack speed, critical strike, and physical damage. It's not optimal, but hell, still going to do plenty of damage.
Yep, and it looks like he's going to be going towards that Last Whisper as the next item here, as the Charm lands on Naya. Takes a lot of damage. Cheese, actually, with that death cap.
Lion skill shots, hitting Naya everywhere he goes.
Yeah, it seems like it. You just Can't really seem to get away. Can't catch a break, Kenamumu, just in general, of course. We all know the law. He's a sad mummy, and he's continuing that at this stage.
So IM have actually managed to push out the Super Minion very fast, but Naya...
Oh, looking for the ultimate. Lands it on 3 members here, as well as Moya into the backline. Uberbro trying to spell shield what he can. Blows every single summoner. Naya in the front line being a massive tank, but Ryu doing the same thing, taking so much damage for his team. CNJ is just going to eviscerate targets, but the turnaround for our immunity, and they could almost get an ace. Moya, the only one left alive, and this is what happens when you don't kill the Ahri.
It's what happens when you don't kill the Ahri, but importantly, Atlas, the turret dive. They were split away from their team, so unfortunately, Carlos's God just couldn't register damage on either the front line or the back line. CNJ was tanking turret for the majority of the dive. Awkward, and this is what we said could happen if we did see the turret dive come through. I didn't foresee it happening on the outer turret, but we'll see a replay going for Naya. He hits the banish, so he's gonna ult, but he's ulting the tank, and T-Gun who had the black shield. Excellent early exhaust, but watch the members in the back. Uberbro is able to freely auto despite being 500 gold behind, but still, as a 500 range AD carry, finally re-enters the fight to critical strike and instant kill CNJ, who've been tanking turret. Again, they split their forces well. That was actually Immunity fighting as well as 4Not did around the Dragon buff earlier, and they need to watch that they do not throw this big lead. As if you fight under turret against all this CC, it can go so wrong for 4Not.
Yeah, and you have to say that T-Gun played that so masterfully. He peeled for both of the team's carries while their tanks took care of everything else in that back line. It was just beautifully executed, was that team fight. And 4Not, they're going to have to be careful. They still have a lead, but Immunity showing some great work in these fights.
CNJ's just refusing to build the QSS. I think you just need to go for it.
He's
had the gold.
He's not going
to.
The
last Whisper coming through. Last Whisper is going to be the last item, I mean, being the 5th item completed. For that same amount of gold, 1275 gold or 1250 gold-ish for those items, could pick up a QSS. You cannot rely solely on Janna's disengage and the Mikhails. Just when staying alive for CNJ means so much more damage than a Last Whisper. If you're alive to just apply more auto attacks, even if they're doing slightly less damage than the Last Whisper, again, the Ren sets will come through, the consistent damage. That's what an AD carry needs to do. And the consistent damage you do when you're dead, it's not very much, Atlas.
No. You, in fact, don't do anything unless you're Kog'Maw or Zyra or Sion. There's a few of them. Karthus is probably
3 out of 130 champs or so, not that many.
Yeah, and of course, it's not doing your main source of damage. So neither is going to work out, but 4Not looking to try and take down this mid lane inhibitor yet again. Not going to be able to kill that Waters. Nice little pierce dance out of the way of that one. And one thing CNJ does have is a lot of damage to this inhibitor, which is getting the focus as Naya lands a nice bandage. Immunity now looking for it. Look at the engage to come down. The wombos on both sides, but Immunity so healthy in this fight. Moya looking to try and get some execution, but doesn't find it. Carlos is gone, already dead. So much consistent damage removed, and Naya, nothing he could do. Now Moya setting up a split push, but actually just trying to get the heck out of dodge because Immunity, the last couple of team fights have been fantastic.
When that Glacial Prison registered from Zahi, you see how the fights change instantly. CNJ flashed out of the fight, did no consistent damage whatsoever, doesn't have the QSS for an offensive-defensive option. That's a bit of a mouthful. Yeah. Able to get a bit of damage onto Ryu, but he did no damage during the fight. He was just zoned by all the AoE coming through. Carlos' God died in the middle of a fight. This is also the downside of a Cassiopeia, is that if she's in the middle of AoE, if she's gankable, if she's ever the first person to die in a fight, you lose so much of her value. The front line can't do things if the back line can't do things if the front line dies instantly. And Immunity, it'd be an improbable comeback, but it's coming closer and closer to that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's still 3,000 gold in the lead. One thing we have to note is the fact that 4Not did manage to take down that inhibitor. So Super Creeps are going to be heading down that middle lane, so 4Not going to have a fair bit of control over this map, but you can see Immunity already setting up something sneaky around this Baron teleport available by Ryu, so he's going to be able to head into this fight whenever he feels like and can deal with these Super Crypts, albeit slowly.
Ironically, no red wards whatsoever down, so it could have actually been a Baron rush coming through from Immunity. Zaldo's only going to place a ward over right now, so they do check the Baron. This is very, very awkward for 4Not. They have a lot of Baron damage. Siva's shown in the base.
Oh, the charm lands here as well. Carlos has got taking so much damage from this 4-item Ahri. And Zahi actually going to come through and clear out some vision. Baron's still angry. The Pig's going to take a bit of damage, but pretty tanky now is this Sejuani with that Warmogs completed and the Cinder Hulk. That's a heck of a lot of health.
Mikhail's is complete. It's now available. Zelda didn't actually have it for the previous fight, although after the flash, CNJ didn't even need the cleanse effect coming through. We'll have it for the next fight. CNJ, it's a bit improbable, but he almost wants to be hit by a max range Glacial Prison, so it could be instantly Mikhail's. That cooldown will be down, and Carlos's God can try and get the consistent damage that won them the previous fights. Because when Carlos's God is the one being altered by the Glacial Prison, he's dying despite having quite a lot of health, and of course the implied health from the Seraph's Shield during all the AoE.
Yeah, and Carlos has got actually picked up that extra needlessly large rod here as well.
They want
what
damage.
Is hopefully going to be Azonia's Hourglass. I don't think Luden's Echo is really going to be working out here, of course, just because he's being deleted. He was 6-1-6, now 6-3-6. The last 2 team fights, he's done nothing.
And that's what I'm trying to say, Atlas, and that's kind of the teaching point I want to impart, is that if you're building the Abyssal, if you're building the early QSS, you know, you have lower physical damage. You know, you don't have a big number to show.
Yeah.
You can't feel necessarily as good about yourself as if you had an Infinity Edge, but you have defensive options. You can even be offensive with a QSS. You can use it for baits. You can do so many things with it. And not having Abyssal Scepter, not having, say, Mercury Treads on Cassiopeia so she doesn't die during the consistently reapplied CC, not even Azonia's for stasis. Unfortunately, 4Not have put themselves in a situation where if Immunity make a mistake, say miss the Glacial Prison, they'll do a lot of damage, like plenty of damage. But in a balanced fight against a strong team like Immunity, when they're hitting their CC, 4Not have not really put themselves in a position to win a fight.
Ooh, Charm not going to find Naya. Neither is the Dark Binding, as Naya actually thinking that his lucky stars are realigning. Coming through here, but of course the game's still very, very even. Only 2,000 in it. 4 dragons, though, have been picked up by 4Not, and that is a big deal because the 5th could be coming up in the next 4 or so minutes.
It's just crazy how such small item picks, massive pickup. Finally, we see the QSS, arguably 2 items late. That's what I'd say, Atlas, but is completed. A kind of small thing that doesn't jump out at you. I just want to see the Mercury Treads on Carlos's God. He needs to be doing consistent damage. He's always going to fighting in 500. Even the Elixir of Iron, fighting in 600 range needs tenacity.
Yeah.
Because during the with the Sorcerer's Shoes, the damage is negated by the fact that with the reapplying of CC and no Zonias, he's just dying during the fights. But now that Carlos has shown, they're starting Baron, but risky against 4Not.
Yeah, Naya can use that bandage toss to get over the wall here as well. If they stack up here in the pit, doesn't actually land it, needs to flash in there as well. Wants to try and steal this one. Is it stolen by Naya here at the same time? Beautiful Curse of the Sad Mummy. This is the fight that 4Not were looking for as Ryu, he's going to go down. Zahi to follow as Carlos is God. When he's alive, does a hell of a lot of damage. Uber, bro.
Talisman popped.
Yeah, sorry, buddy. You are dead, as it's going to be the cheeky E for Moya as he picks up that final kill. The inhibitor respawns, but this looks like it's probably going to be game, and 4Not keep their hopes alive.
And 4Not, we've written them off a couple of times, but they're still a mathematical competition for the playoffs. They will not have their tombstone piled down right now. They will win this game. Immunity, don't know why they needed to do the Baron against so much AoE damage. The Curse of the Sad Mummy was massive in that fight. He even had to flash. It was a mistake from Naya, I have to say, some small mistakes. Doing the Baron, mistake from Immunity. Naya just needed to use the bandage toss onto the Baron. It's not moving anywhere. You'd 100% register it, then flash for position. Went for the aggressive bandage toss, missed it. But man, when that AoE came down, deleted was Team Immunity.
Yeah, it was beautiful to see. And of course, in the Baron pit with an Amumu and a Cassiopeia, very dangerous decision. But replay is going to be coming up here. And let's see exactly how that one worked, because this game was beautiful. And this is CNJ just having a monstrously amazing Martial Poise experience.
And when Kalista works, doesn't matter who it is, whether it's Uzi, whether it's CNJ in this case, there's amazing things you can be done with Kalista. There's such a high skill cap to this champion.
I'm going to let CNJ know that you just referred to him as Uzi.
Let's roll the tape here as you just watch some excellent Kalista mechanics. This is all initiated by T-Gun. This will turn into a massive 4v4 fight, I believe. CNJ falls very, very low. If you watch the minimap, Zed will be the first person to react. CNJ goes aggressive because of the red buff. He has the slow. He has the extra damage. They know that the first person to reach this fight will be Zed, despite the fact that Ryu teleported. He actually teleported expecting a defensive position from 4Not. They have to go offensive. Moya buys time for himself during this fight, so he's still not involved. This is still a 2v2. Could have been a 2v3, but baited out of the situation was Ari. And the consistent damage from CNJ, he stays alive for so long. Everybody else that enters the fight is just distracting from the fact that CNJ is putting in so much damage with the Bilge Water completed and the attack speed dagger. Kalista consistent damage, so impressive.
Yeah, and you have to mention the fact that Moya got himself back into this game at that point, because he's going to be able to pick up the final kill here on Zahi. And that makes him 2-2 instead of that 0-2-0, which he was picking up. And brilliant work of the Shurikens and just fantastic play coming through from 4Not. And you have to say, Carlos is God. That guy is impressing me every week.
They deserve this win, 4Not, but they made it hard for themselves. An earlier QSS, a bit of defense, even just the Mercury Tread swap for the Sorcerer's Shoes would have been massive for Cassiopeia and for the Callisto respectively. But when they won it landslidely right at the end with a big team fight. Immunity, they're going to be smarting. They now have a very tough run if they want to hit the 4th spot. And hell, they're going to decide their own fate right now as they're in the next game.
Yeah, well, speaking of the next game, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a short break. But when we come back, Avant-Garde and Team Immunity are going to face off. And Immunity, they're going to need to keep Splitsville alive. Guys, don't go anywhere.